Hi everybody, it's Kay, and today I want to talk about this amazing book. Yes, this is a story about two branches of the same family tree. We have Afia, who marries an Englishman who is the governor of the Cape Coast Castle in Ghana. She has a half-sister she doesn't know anything about. Her half-sister's name is Essie. And Essie, unfortunately, is captured and sold into slavery, and eventually we follow her descendants into the United States of America. What I love about this story is how she weaves this story together, how she shows us what happens to both the family that remains in Africa and the family that comes to the United States. Now, the family that stays in Africa, they are privileged but not immune to trouble. And the family that comes to the United States, they experience a lot of suffering and setbacks, but they are resilient and determined to survive. I love the way she builds this family tree. Mom is the root, and then Effia and Essie are the trunk. And then from there you see the branches and the twigs and the leaves and eventually the crown of the whole family tree. And it's a beautiful and wonderful, amazing experience. One of the things that she did that I thought was very beneficial for me anyway, is that she shared the family tree at the beginning of the book. And I use this a lot to reference back to the matriarch of each particular family line, each of those two branches. She's a wonderful author. The book is an easy read. It is a quick read. And this book really, really makes you think. I know that's what it did for me. I can tell you that I know more about my maternal grandfather's family history than I do my other grandparents. My grandfather was privileged to know both his grandfather and his great-grandmother, who were both slaves. Rosa was born in 1818 and died in 1925 at 107 years old. She was born when James Monroe was president, and he was the 5th president of the United States. We don't know a lot about her childhood. We do know that her mother's name was Phyllis, based on her death certificate. We also know that they started breeding, or I should say raping Rosa when she was only 13 years old. And she ended up having, I think, anywhere between 15 and 18 children. After slavery was over, some of her children, they changed their last name because they didn't want to carry the slave owner's name. But the branch of the family tree that I come from, they decided to keep the plantation owner's name, and that's the name that I carry to this day. Now, my great-great-grandfather's name is Lewis, and what I know about Lewis is that he died in 1935, and he didn't even own a pair of shoes until after slavery was over. That's what I know about him. Now, my grandfather was born in 1906, and I didn't really realize growing up that he actually knew Rosa and Lewis. I could have asked him so many questions. Not that he knew anything. Keep in mind that, there were a lot of people who didn't like to talk about slavery. I just wonder, though, since Rosa was born in 1818, did she know where in Africa her family came from? Was it ever mentioned to her? Did her mom Phyllis know? I really, really wish I would have asked my grandfather. Like, again, not saying that he would have known, but I really wish I had explored that. But by the time I thought to ask, it was too late and he was already gone. But yes, this book really made me think about that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share with you now a picture of Lewis. I'm going to insert it right here. Another thing that this book made me think about is our broken branches, how our branches were broken in the bows of slave ships and along the Underground Railroad and on auction blocks and across all these different plantations. They're just parts about our heritage and our history that we'll never know because we have broken branches in our family tree. I want to share something with you, though, one passage of this book before I let you go. A passage that I really liked and thought was very, very important, especially in light of the fact that I didn't ask my grandfather questions. But it says, "This is the problem of history. We cannot know that which we were not there to see and hear and experience for ourselves. We must rely upon the words of others. Those who were there in the olden days, they told stories to the children so that the children would know, so that the children could tell stories to their children, and so on and so on." Share your family history with those who need to know it. Ask questions of those who may have the answers. And read this book because it's fantastic. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.